Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX with me, Devika Chopra. In a historic recognition of India's cultural and philosophical legacy, the Bhagavad Gita and Bharat Muni's Natyashastra have been inscribed in UNESCO's Memory of the World Register. The announcement has been praised as a significant moment for the country, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi calling it a proud moment for every Indian across the world. Manuscripts of the Bhagavad Gita and Bharat Muni's Natyashastra are among the 74 new documentary heritage collections that have been added to UNESCO's Memory of the World Register. With the inclusion of the Gita and Natyashastra, India now has 14 entries in UNESCO's prestigious Memory of the World Register, which aims to preserve documented heritage of global significance. While the Bhagavad Gita is considered a timeless philosophical and spiritual guide and has been translated into approximately 80 languages, Natyashastra is a treatise on dramaturgy, performance, aesthetics and classical arts, and remains one of the most comprehensive documents on theatre and performing traditions. Established in 1992, the Memory of the World program aims to recognize important historical texts, manuscripts that have influenced societies across generations. In addition to the international register, UNESCO has supported the creation of 4 regional registers and national Memory of the World committees in more than 100 countries. But what does this development truly mean for India? I take this conversation forward. I have with me on the broadcast Professor Madhav Nalappa, the editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, Sumit Peer, political commentator, and Mr. Utpal Kaul, historian, with us on the broadcast. Let me begin this conversation with Mr. Utpal Kaul. Mr. Kaul, what do you make of this significant development that has taken place?
And I totally agree with our Honorable Prime Minister that it's a proud moment for all Indians, all Bharatis. Bhagavad Gita is the soul of Bharat, and Bharat Muni's Natyashastra is the soul of performing arts. And both these documents, both these manuscripts are very dear to Indian mind and soul. I can say that thousands and thousands, I can say millions of Indians by heart can recite Bhagavad Gita, said by Lord Krishna nearly 5,576 years back, and same way Natyashastra almost written by 2,200 years back. But I may tell you that Natyashastra was rather composed because all the things written by Bharat Muni were already there in our Vedas. And Bharat Muni, very intelligently, he was one of the greatest rishis India has produced. So he wrote it, he composed it, and it must have been a great hard work, because nowadays I can even recommend all our great artists of not only theatre but Bollywood and Hollywood to study it. How he says how will the stage, when we have to perform, how is the stage, how must be the action, rasa and bhava and emotions. It is all written. You can understand one thing. I am very proud saying that our one of the greatest scholars of Kashmir, Abhinav Gupta, wrote treatise on Bhagavad Gita commentary on Bhagavad Gita, and both are Natyashastra. It is such a coincidence that 1,000 years back, Abhinav Gupta considered these two documents the greatest documents of our Indian nation about Bharatiya civilization. So he wrote commentary on Bhagavad Gita and he wrote a commentary on Natyashastra. Natyashastra is basically it is in 36 chapters, and it has nearly 6,000 verses. And it was a great moment that 8 years back, a great beautiful statue of Bharat Muni was installed in Indira Gandhi, IGNCA, Indira Gandhi National Center of Arts, because this institution understands the value of the Natyashastra. And Natyashastra, it is some text must be taught in our schools and colleges, so that they feel so proud how our great performing art were even in ancient India. Thank you very much.
I also have Professor Ramesh Chandra Gaur, member of the International Advisory Committee of UNESCO Memory of the World, joining me on the broadcast. Professor Gaur, I want to understand from your perspective, how crucial is this addition to the world, by UNESCO to the World Memory Register for India?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to be part of this discussion, and I express my sincere thanks to Honorable Prime Minister, our Culture Minister, and all our ministers and Government of India for appreciating this great work which we have nominated Bhagavad Gita and Natyashastra. So basically, in addition to my role as a member of UNESCO IAC, I am also in charge of this nodal center, which is responsible for submission of nomination dossiers and also coordinating with the UNESCO for inscribing such valuable manuscripts in the Memory of the World program. It is a proud moment for us because these two documents are one of the rarest and one of the most precious epics, and now with these nomination inscription into the international register, more visibility will be created, and all over the world it will be truly recognized as the world heritage, and moreover, as Bhagavad Gita has been translated in 80 languages, this will give us more opportunity to spread the message of Lord Sri Krishna to the entire community, research community all over the world. So really, these are the very proud moments, and we are at IGNCA, we are proud of, and I'm personally, because I'm involved in this nomination dossier, I feel immensely happy that our nomination, both the nomination dossiers have been accepted. And when we talk about Natyashastra, as a previous speaker has already explained, I will only say that when we talk about Natyashastra, our performing arts, music, dance, drama, is entirely based on this valuable Mahagranth. If you talk about modern theatre, now just go through this particular Granth and you will find that thousands of years before, what kind of theatre we should have, all this have been written in this particular Granth. So now the world will know about India's contribution in performing art, India's basic foundation of performing arts. Although Bhagavad Gita is already renowned all over the world, but now with the inclusion in the international register, it will be given more visibility, and particularly for the academic community, the new generation of young scholars within India and abroad will have more opportunity to spread the message of Bhagavad Gita.
So, Professor Gaur, I do want to understand from you, when UNESCO decides to add a scripture or a part of a scripture to the World Memory Register, what really becomes the process after that? Are the inscriptions then translated in multiple languages for people across the world to access them and to understand them? What's the larger significance when you say that the world will get to know more about Natyashastra as a concept? How exactly is that achieved?
The process of inscription is that every 2 years UNESCO announce call for nominations, and we have to prepare a nomination dossier. So a document which is describing the complete details based on guidelines of UNESCO Memory of the World program has to be submitted in the with the deadline, and then there is a process, there is a technical committee, then there is a international advisory committee and the executive board, and on the basis of that entire process is completed within 2 years, and after that it is being declared inscribed to the register. So this is every country can submit 2 nominations in a cycle, Moreover, when you are asking about the translation, if you talk about Natyashastra, generally UNESCO do not engage in translation. They put your information document on their website as it is. It will be in the language which you have it in, like we have Bharat Muni's Natyashastra in different scripts. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita and Sharda script. So they will not translate. It is our responsibility to make translation available to the research community. If anybody is asking for translation, concerned institute, like in this case concerned institute is Bhandarkar or Intel Research Institute or IGNCA, we can provide the translation or translated copies of these manuscript to the concerned scholar. UNESCO is ensuring it as a document for safeguarding for the posterity, and also the kind of process involved in it, it is ensuring for the long term preservation. But definitely by including in the register, it will be known to the worldwide research community, and more people can have access to it, because once you declared this as a world heritage, documentary heritage, you have to ensure universal access to this particular literature. So now we will see that Natyashastra will be more spread all over the world in a different drama and theatre schools. In some cases it is already being taught, but there are chances now more and more drama school all over the world will adopt it and will follow the various theories and principles laid down in this valuable document.
Okay, and as we were speaking, I will request our guests to stay on with us. Perhaps we can show this on our screens as well. Ladies and gentlemen, as Professor Gaur was also pointing out, that this is available, this is material that is then available online, right? And it says manuscript collection of the Bhagavad Gita, the ancient Samgraha Granth of Indian thought with worldwide readership and influence. Submitter is India. So I'm basically on the UNESCO website for the World Memory Register, and I've gone to Register 2025, where you can actually see all the submissions that have been made by countries this year. And here it states the Bhagavad Gita, containing 700 verses in 18 chapters, is embedded within the Bhisma Parva of the epic Mahabharata. It takes the form of a dialogue between Krishna and Arjun, with armies lined up for the great war intended to free Arjun of dejection. Bhagavad Gita is a central text in the continuous cumulative ancient intellectual Indian tradition, synthesizing various thought movements such as Vedic, Buddhist, Jain and Sarvaka. Due to its philosophical breadth and depth, the Bhagavad Gita has been read for centuries across the globe and translated into many languages. So this is, of course, like I said, you can come here and get a glimpse of the submissions that have been made by India. Similarly, it says manuscript of the Natyashastra of Bharat Muni, a seminal text of Indian performing art. And this, of course, is a part of that inscription that has been now added to the World Memory Register. It says reserved at the Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute and codified around the 2nd century BC. The Natyashastra of Bharat Muni is an epitome of the Natya Ved, an oral body of knowledge of performing art containing 36,000 verses known as the Gandharva Ved. The Natyashastra embodies a comprehensive set of rules that define Natya, which is drama, Abhinay, which is performance, Rasa, which is aesthetic experience, Bhav, emotion, Sangeet, music, amongst others, thus articulating the character of Indian theatre, poetics, aesthetics, dance and music. Bharat Muni makes a groundbreaking statement in Natyashastra, asserting that no meaning can blossom forth without ras, a profound contribution to the world of literature. So this is, of course, as I said, viewers, I would of course encourage anyone watching this to perhaps have a look at what material is available online, and it could be an interesting read for people as well. Professor Gaur, I'll come back to you in just a moment. Professor Madhav Lanapad, bring you into the conversation, sir. I want to understand from your perspective, what more do you feel India can do in terms of making some of these texts not only accessible to the world but also to Indians? For example, if we were to talk about the Bhagavad Gita, of course, there are bits and pieces over the years that are passed down to generations, especially amongst Hindu families, learnings from the Bhagavad Gita. But in the current context of the world, how crucial does it become for us to instill the values of the Bhagavad Gita, given that we're looking at tumultuous times, be it wars, be it any other sort of problems in the world? How crucial do those learnings become?
Well, Devika, you raised a very important point, and may I point out that the Bhagavad Gita is a text that ought to be taught in any language in the world, in schools all over the world, beginning with elementary schools, so that by the time a student passes out of school, he or she is fluent in the Gita. Because the Gita is, frankly, is actually a text that tells you how to deal with life, how to deal with situations in life. And Lord Krishna advises Arjuna, and it is a tremendous work, tremendous work, I'd like to say, and it teaches you so many things about life that it is, difficult to imagine, those who have read it, why it is still not read by so many. And may I point out, it's not just a religious text. It is, of course, very much a part of the religion, but it's also it's universal. The message is not confined to people of a particular religion. The message of the Gita is universal, which is what Prime Minister Modi stressed when he said all Indians should be proud. All Indians, irrespective of denomination, states, you name it, they should be proud of this. And the reality of the situation is that it's indeed something to be proud of, for a simple reason that we have got a history, as Utpal was saying, 5,500 years he's been talking about, let's say 5,000 years or 6,000 years. But the reality is that there is a recorded history of around 6,000 years, and all our citizens need to learn the whole of that history. Unfortunately, during the British period, they concentrated most of the attention on the colonial period, of course painting it in a very, very flattering light, and then a little bit of attention to the Mughal period, and hardly any attention at all to the Vedic period. And I think part of the reason was, frankly, that the Vedic period in all its splendor was so magnificent that it was difficult for somebody from another civilization to accept that this kind of magnificence existed in India, a country which at one time was unfortunately ravaged and colonized, I would say close to a millennium. But the fact is, beyond that, there are 5,000 millennia in which the country was different, and the history of the entire period needs to be known. And I think UNESCO is one of the most respected members of the UN family. And of course, Devika, on a personal note, I was probably one of the first UNESCO peace chairs appointed by UNESCO, and in the Manipal University, an institution of higher learning, which is world-renowned. And I'm still continuing in that particular thing. And I can say I'm very proud of that association. UNESCO is an organization that has done humanity proud. And one thing about UNESCO, it does not differentiate whether between continents and cultures. It does not give preference to one particular continent or one particular culture. It goes through all the cultures, all the different continents, and gives it equality of treatment. And that is the universality of humankind that is celebrated in Sanatana Dharma. And that is the universal view of UNESCO, which I said is among the most respected of UN institutions. Thank you, Devika.
Absolutely. I want to bring in Sumit Peer into the conversation as well. Sumit, I want to understand from your perspective, what more should we be doing in order to make some of these texts truly accessible? Like I said, yes, of course, it's a proud moment for India that it's been added to the World Register. So it's in fact given us an opportunity to talk about it. But these sort of opportunities don't come every day. Why is it that we must rely upon UNESCO, for example, adding parts of our manuscripts or scriptures into the World Memory Register for us to be able to talk about it? Why is it that the government perhaps is not paying as much attention as it should to develop some sort of a central database? For example, there should just be a website where one should be able to access the most authentic English and other translations of some of these texts. Today, with the help of AI, we'll be able to achieve this in record time.
Devika ji, thank you very much for having me on your show. In fact, you asked a brilliant question. You see, I'd answer in two parts. The first part is what is the relevance and what can be done. When you talk of the relevance, this is a very important step because Srimad Bhagavad Gita is a text for humanity. It's not a text for Hindu. That's the first important thing. And when Bhagavan refers, he refers in any of the Hindu texts as Manav. There's no Hindu word in any of our texts. It's referred as Manav, Manavta. That means world and all the humans. So for example, the intention of karma determines the outcome of karma. It is a universal truth. It was 5,000 years back and it is going to be even after 5,000 years. How does it differentiate between a Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, Jew or a Parsi? It does not, because that is what the logic of karma is. Now, this was intentionally put down. These texts were intentionally subdued and kind of buried under the British era and before the Islamic invasion and all that. Now suddenly world is realizing the importance of these texts, and today under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi and Gajendra Singh Shekhawat ji, if they are reaching UNESCO and Professor Saab, which is on the panel here, that is a testimony to the fact that the Indian knowledge and wisdom was the epitome 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 years back, and it is going to be after that, because it is not directed to a particular religion or a particular sampradaya or a particular sect. It is directed to humanity as such. And Bhagavan Shri Krishna talks about life lessons. These life lessons should be understood by everybody. Today Bhagavad Gita is translated into 80 languages. ISKCON itself has, I think, distributed more than 5 million copies worldwide. And in the Middle East, one of the most sold books, foreign books, is Sri Bhagavad Gita. A lot of Arabs and all are reading because it's the book about the meaning of life. When we have reached that stage, it was only the impetus which was required to put it in the world stage, what has been rightfully done. And Honorable Prime Minister is right and Shekhawat ji is right. It is a great, great moment for India, because we are talking about our approach is Vasudevam Kutumbakam. It is not Hindu in India. No. It is like this, Vasudevam Kutumbakam. That is what our text has been. That is what our ethos has been, and that is what the civilizational greatness has been. So if you talk about for example, if you talk about this Natyashastra. Now, Natyashastra, we know Bharat Muniji, we know 36 chapters, we know 6,000 verses. The most important thing, Devika ji, I want to bring to your attention and to viewers is that, look, who is the Lord of all the dance? Who is the Bhagavan or the King of, or the Lord of dance? Is Shiva. And what form of Shiva represents this? Nataraja. And where is Nataraja kind of installed? And Nataraja is in CERN. CERN is the biggest physical lab of the world. It's in Geneva, Switzerland. The biggest ever lab where the most advanced physics research happens, that is CERN. And CERN, quote unquote, recognizes why you have kept Shiva there, why you have kept Nataraja there, because they understand, acknowledge, and it is on their website, which you can check, that the dance of Shiva represents the cosmic energy for creation and destruction of life. And these are the people who came up with the God particle. Now, the new theory of the evolution of the universe goes around God particle, and these are the people who came with the God particle, and they say it is the dance of the Shiva, the dance of the Nataraja, which is the cosmic energy for the creation and destruction of the universe. This is not our ethos. This is not my ethos. This is what the CERN, the biggest physics library or the biggest scientific laboratory of the world, acknowledges. Now, compare that with Sri Bhagavad Gita, now compare that with Natyashastra going into the world register. Now, people will see the relevance. People will say, where does this all come from? Even if you go by Hindu sculptures and all, Kholsa made an important point about Abhinav Gupta. I'll tell you, now Abhinav Gupta also wrote Trika. Trika is the ultimate science of Kashmiri Shivism. He talks about how the dance, the conversation between Bhairav and Bhairavi, how that leads to the formation of world, how various cosmic energies are only created by the conversation between Bhairav and Bhairavi. And what is the concept of Trika, and what is the concept of three Devis in Trika, and how does Trika rule the manifestation of Devi into various forms. It's a very complex thing, I'm not going into it. But the thing is that what we are telling and what we are giving to the world is only this much. And ma'am, Abhinav Gupta is taught in around 50 European universities, including American universities. But unfortunately, due to whatever secularism we want to practice here, we are not teaching Abhinav Gupta. We have buried him in India. But वहाँ 50 यूनिवर्सिटियों में पढ़ा जाता था, but we don't teach about him in India. Now another thing, what you ask, what should we do? The first thing we should do is we should make Srimad Bhagavad Gita and these great philosophers like Abhinav Gupta and all, we should make their teachings public. If Abhinav Gupta can be taught in 52 universities in the world, and there are curriculums, I have seen Ferangs, I have seen these Goras talk about Trika. Go and talk to anybody in a IIT and a IM here. Tell him what is Trika. मैं सर मुंड बांधूंगा if he can tell what is Trika. He will not know because they have never been taught about this. And I have seen Goras talk and debate what is Trika and what is the relevance of Trika, what Abhinav Gupta wrote. So if these things are lost like this and we only wait for a UNESCO to come and give it the requisite place, but why not our universities, why not our website, what you rightly said, why not our manuscripts? Bhagavad Gita is not a Hindu text, it's a universal text. At the time Bhagavad Gita was talked or written or spoken, there was no Islam, there was no Christianity. So you cannot put a religious color to the text. Now what is if our new generation understands three things, dharma, karma, and trial balance is zero. Everything comes back, the karma comes back. If you understand these three things, there are Muslim scholars in England who teach Bhagavad Gita in various schools. And when I have met one of them, I asked him, you're a Muslim, why do you teach Bhagavad Gita? He says, Sumit bhai, if I can only teach dharam, karam and pa punya, everything, the trial balance is zero. A lot of evil in the world can be controlled. You will not have a lot of evil in the world when people understand just 3-4 things. And where do these all 3-4 things come from? They come from Sri Bhagavad Gita. And when you talk of the dance, when you talk of Bharat Muni and Natyashastra Devikaji, it's not the physical dance. It is the tal, it is the frequency, it is the notion. Now today they are talking, if for example somebody is suffering with this Alzheimer's and all, if you listen to a particular frequency, your Alzheimer's can be reduced or can even get cured to some extent. Now that frequency is those dance, that is what is the relevance. And when you talk of dance and when you talk of yoga, there are 6 kinds of yogas. I'm not getting into it. But when you talk of that, what is the relevance? Who's the Adi Yogi? Adi Yogi is Mahadev, is Bhagwan Shiv. So dance is yoga is the synchrony between mind, body and universe.
Yes.
The bigger relevance of yoga is not only dance, is the synchrony between mind, body and universe. All these asanas and all, like Surya Namaskar, you synchronize yourself with the universe. So if world understands the relevance of these things, it is fantastic, and that all treasure we hold with us. And unfortunately, Kashmiri Shivism, which has been kind of buried, if that is being taught, if you see the relevance of that is being taught, it goes beyond nirvana, because Abhinav Gupta talks beyond nirvana. He does not stop at nirvana. He says there's something beyond nirvana.
Okay.
And we can't go on that, but it's a wealth which we can share to the world and liberate the world, ma'am.
Absolutely. I unfortunately have completely run out of time, but it was such an interesting conversation that we were having with our guests. I wish we had more time, but unfortunately we have to step into a very quick break.